Hi, good afternoon, everyone. You are all at the free webinar, Choosing Usability Research, which is the best option for you and your product. My name is Michelle Sherritt. I am the VP here at Situated Research, and we are very happy to bring this webinar to you guys today. During today's session, we ask that you write your questions in your upper right-hand corner in your chat box. That way, when we do get to Q&A at the very end, we can go through those questions in order, and if we need to go back to certain slides, we can go ahead and do that. Also, that way, it gets you guys not to forget your questions, and it keeps the flow of questions going at the end as well. If after the webinar today or over the weekend or next week you guys have a question, just send us an email at info@situatedresearch.com. Today's session will be recorded and available to you over the weekend, so by Monday morning it should be available on our website. All of our recorded webinars are there. We've done many webinars on social media and website design as well as usability, so go ahead and check that out when you have a chance. After webinars, a lot of people ask if the slides are available, and unfortunately they are not. They are copywritten to Situated Research, and so we don't redistribute those slides, but you're more than welcome to rewatch the webinars whenever you'd like. Do take notes. There's a lot of things that are not on the slides that I talk about, so definitely do take those notes. And you all will be muted for today. We have a lot of people attending today, a couple hundred, so if we didn't do that, it'd be a little chaotic. So we make sure that everybody's muted. And we want you to enjoy today's session. All of our webinars are pretty much enjoyable. We have fun during them. People learn a lot of good, valuable information, so enjoy. Before we start, I just want to do a brief introduction of our company. When you signed up for today's session, you were redirected to our website. And so hopefully you had a chance to check it out. But some information that's not on there is that Situated Research started in the fall of 2008. So we are now entering our 4th year of business. And we have over 50 staff members. So not everybody is listed on our team page. We usually list the new hires on there, and as we get new hires, we take off the old ones and put up the new ones. So not everybody is listed there. Everybody who is on our staff has unique and exceptional backgrounds. We make sure that we get the best of the best. So anywhere from our content writers, graphic designers, UX people, everyone has really good high educations. They come from unique backgrounds. They work for some big name companies. So we hold that expectation high for people that we bring on because we want to project that to our clients. We want to make sure that they get the best of the best. So whatever we help them with. We also have Dr. Matthew Sherritt, who has a PhD in communication and information sciences. It's an interdisciplinary degree. So it encompasses human-computer interaction, computer science, communication, psychology, usability, which is our main focus here at Situated Research in our 3 different divisions. We have our website and social media division. We have our software and products division, and then our video game division. For the website and social media, we help clients build new websites. And then after we do that, or if we help them to renew their current website, we go on to help them with social media so that they get the visitors that they need to their website and they get the information out. With software and products, we help companies that develop products and also develop pieces of software. So we help to make those more user-friendly through research and testing. And we also do that in the video game industry. We have a couple contracts with some video game companies where they give us the prototypes for their new video games, or sometimes they wait to the end. We'll actually discuss the pros and cons of doing it that way today. But we sit down users and we have them in a natural setting and we have them play the video games and we video record and we come up with different analysis with usability in within the gameplay of the video game, and then we go ahead and redistribute that information back to the client, and we give them information and suggestions on improving the gameplay. So we have done over 4,500 projects since we've been open. And so we have been in the website industry for about 16 years now. So 4,500 projects is just from 2008 for Situated Research. So a lot of people ask, why do we do this webinar for free? We have done over 4,500 projects. And so we've listened to our clientele. They've said, okay, I didn't really know that much about usability before I spoke to you folks. So, you know, I'm sure that there's other businesses out there that haven't either, or they don't understand the importance of encompassing it into their development cycle. And so I think that you should do a free webinar and get the information out there. So the more exposure to usability and to our company, the better. So that's why we do this webinar for free. It also educates people on usability and really helps them out to make good educated decisions for their own company. And during this webinar, we talk about why usability is important. So if you know, the number one thing that always happens is we have people within companies that believe that usability is very important. They understand why it's important, they get it. And they have people above them and that don't quite understand the importance or why spend the money on usability. So they always have to persuade them or sell them, if you will. And they always bring us in and we do the same thing. And so we always get the project because of that. But a lot of companies have the problem when they come to us and they say, I totally get it. I know that we need it because our product isn't selling. And I know that we can sell more. And I know that we need usability testing. I just don't know how to persuade the people above me. So this webinar is going to help you if you're one of those people to persuade the people who are higher up from you in your company to encompass usability within the development cycle. So the topics that we're going to cover today are what is qualitative research versus quantitative research. So what are those two? What are the differences, the pros and cons? We're also going to talk about when to use experts. So when should you bring in an expert, or should you? We're also going to talk about conducting your own usability testing and the pros and cons of doing that in-house or hiring it out. We're going to talk about when to bring in independent experts to your company. And then after you decide all of that, once you get into the actual testing, we need to decide how many users do we need to test. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about sizing up your competition via competitive benchmarking. We have so many companies that come to us that say, we want to do competitive benchmarking. We need to do press releases on our piece of software. We want to know how we compare to our competition. So we're going to talk about that. And then lastly, we'll discuss improving efficiency versus improving the quality of interaction. So before we could talk about any of this, and I'm throwing around all this terminology, hoping that the people who are attending today understand, but still we need to talk about what is usability. Usability is the whole focus of this webinar. So in order to do this webinar, we need to discuss this. So usability, to sum it up, is the ease of use and learnability of a human-made object. So humans make websites, we make products, we make software, we make video games, we make it all. So we want it to be easy to use and easy to learn for our users. The object can be anything, like I said, software, websites, tools, machines, products, anything that encompasses human interaction. So to get a little technical, usability study may be conducted as a primary job function by usability analysts. So an analyst comes in, they go ahead and do the usability study for your company, they give you feedback. It is widely used in consumer electronics, communication, knowledge transfer, anything that encompasses knowledge transfer, information transfer, and mechanical objects such as door handles or hammers, anything that you use in your everyday life. Usability includes methods of measuring usability and the study of the principles behind an object's efficiency versus elegance, the way it looks. In human-computer interaction and computer science, usability studies the elegance and clarity with which the interaction with a computer program or a website is designed. So usability differs from user satisfaction insofar as the former also embraces usefulness. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a couple slides. So the primary notion of usability is that an object is designed with a generalized user's psychology and physiology in mind. So for example, you want to make sure that this product is efficient to use. So it takes less time for a user to accomplish a particular task. If someone purchases your product, it's supposed to make their life easier. If it makes their life harder, they're probably going to want a refund. They're going to be calling your customer service line, yelling. They're going to be wasting all those resources. They're going to tell people, especially with social media, they're going to tell people, hey, I bought this piece of software, for example, and it stinks. I thought it would make my life easier, but it's making it more complicated. I can't even figure out how to use it. You don't want your product to be that one. And usability, you want the product to be easier to learn. So the operation can be learned by observing the object. It's very obvious how to use it. And if you do these things, your users are going to be more satisfied and they're going to want to continue to use your product. They're going to tell others, especially with social media, and word's going to get out very quickly and you're going to sell a lot of your product if it's good. The bottom line is that complex computer systems find their way into everyday life. And at the same time, the market is so saturated with competing brands. And this has made usability more popular and widely recognized in the recent years as companies see the benefits of doing this research and developing their products with user-oriented methods instead of technology-oriented methods. And we'll discuss that a little bit later on as well. So let's talk about our first topic, qualitative versus quantitative research. The first that we're going to talk about is quantitative research. Now, quantitative research is a method that refers to the type of information based in quantities or quantifiable data. So you have a bunch of users who come in, you gather a bunch of information, a bunch of data, and you do statistical analysis to see if your hypothesis comes true or not. If a certain way you thought the analysis would comes out that way. So statistical analysis, you're using numbers. Qualitative research is a method of gathering an in-depth understanding of a human behavior and then finding out the reasons that govern that behavior. So it investigates why and how of decision making, which is just as important as statistical analysis. So here at Situated Research, we evaluate the overall user experience in situ, or in the actual environments where products are used. So we don't have our users come into a lab setting. We observe them in their environment where they would be using the product. So our situated approach means that we study the entire environment in which cognitive and social interactions occur. So if it's video game testing, we will actually go to people's houses, set up video cameras hidden. Obviously, they sign all the paperwork that they need to sign, but it's hidden. And so they're being video recorded. They know this. The video cameras aren't right in their face. They're hidden. They have a friend come over. They order pizza. They have a few laughs. They play the video game through its entirety, or as far as they can get in some cases. And then the next day we come and we collect our tapes. And so that keeps them in their natural setting. They're not going to skew what they're going to say. They're going to be natural, the way that we want them to be, the way that they would play your video game after they purchase it and come home and want to play it. So lab settings are really bad when it comes to usability testing, because then the users know that they're being tested. That's in the back of their head. And I actually have to catch myself, because users are not being tested. They are testing the products. So that's the number one thing in usability. especially here at Situated Research, that we always say, because users always come in and they feel like they're the ones being tested, and we're not testing them. We're testing the product. We want to make sure that it functions correctly. We want to make sure that it delivers that ultimate user experience that we promise. So a lot of people say Situated Research, what does that mean? Situated Research, this is how we came up with our name for our company. And it makes perfect sense as we go along. We do in situ user experience research. So our techniques uncover user practices and behaviors that suggest ways in which technology is expected to behave. So these insights will allow you to create spot-on, easy-to-use solutions that balance aesthetics with functionality. So some people say, okay, well, why in situ? By studying users in their natural settings, we gain insight into actual uses rather than uses in a lab. Again, if you have users in a lab, they know that they are testing something, they know that they're being evaluated, their answers are being evaluated, and it might skew what they say or what they do. And why UX? By incorporating user research into the design process, you're ensured that your client's needs are met, that your users' needs are met. This allows them to work productively, efficiently, and happily. So why do we research users at all? Just as an example, McAfee antivirus software cut its customer support costs by 90% after incorporating UX research into their product. So the side effects were they had happier users and a larger market share. Word spread like wildfire. So by encompassing user research, they made their product better. They totally cut their customer support costs, which saved the company money, but they also gained happier customers and a larger market share. So some people say, okay, I get the difference between qualitative and quantitative. How do I know what I'm supposed to use? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do with the information? You want to use qualitative research when you're developing an initial understanding of an issue or problem with your product. When you want to look for a range of ideas and feelings about something. When you want to understand the different perspectives between groups and categories of people. When you want to uncover underlying motivations and factors that influence decision-making and opinions. You want to use qualitative research also to provide information needed to design a quantitative study. Or when you need to explain findings from a quantitative study, because remember, quantitative studies are all about numbers. And so how do you interpret those numbers? Sometimes qualitative research has to be done alongside. Now, when you want to do quantitative research, you want to do it because you want to recommend a final course of action. You want to find whether there is a consensus on a particular issue. You want to know project results to a large population, or identify evidence regarding cause and effect relationships. You'd want to use quantitative research to also describe characteristics of relevant groups of people, test specific hypotheses, and examine specific relationships, or to identify and size market segments. But the ideal option is to use both. In a perfect world, your budget would be able to encompass both studies. Well, why would you want to do both? They both provide different perspectives, and they usually complement one another. So unless you do both, you're not going to know that. So ideally, you want to make sure that you're using both of the studies together and that you're working with a company that knows how to do that. So let's talk about our next topic, which is when to use expert reviews. Well, first of all, let's talk about what is an expert review. An expert review really is a multifaceted activity. We use a variety of industry standard practices tailored to your specific product, system, or concept. So we put expertise to work to find possible usability defects, quality problems, or marketing misfires with your product. Experts give their advice on fixing different issues that they found, and it gives you real answers. Now, you want to also, when you do expert reviews, bring in actual users. So when you do expert reviews, you just have one expert. Okay, so here's Situated Research. That would be Dr. Sherritt or one of our other PhDs on staff. And so they give you their expert advice. They give you explanations on fixing the issues. However, you also want to later on, or if not straight after, have users, a bunch of users also test your product. Expert review is a quick way to look at areas that might benefit from more research. So if you're tight on budget and you just need an answer quickly or an overview of your product, then an expert review is right for you. So the questions, the most important questions that an expert review answers are, is there something wrong with my product? So we evaluate your product's usability, the intuitiveness, the usefulness to make sure that it is free of issues. And if it's not, we tell you what the issues are and how to fix them. The other question that an expert review answers is, how bad are these problems? So we actually have a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the worst, 1 being the least, and we scale each problem so you know the severity of each problem. So based on our expertise in product design, development, and marketing, we can give you the bad news in dollars and cents. So you can plan how to allocate your redesign dollars. But on the other hand, we can also give you the good news. So some recommendations on how to fix the defects that we find. So you get the bad news and you get the good news. Expert reviews really are a great way to establish a baseline measurement of your product's usability right away and very quickly. You receive, or you should receive, a detailed description of the usability defects along with recommendations to fix them. So how long does all this take? Like I said, it's a fast turnaround. Here at Situated Research, it takes about 3 to 4 days. And if you want to learn more about the studies that we do, you can visit our website here at this link. And you can look at the different studies, click learn more, learn what types of companies should be using the certain studies, how many users we use, the deliverables, all of that good stuff. For an expert review, we give you a written report and we do a presentation with the client describing the problems and issues that we found with the design. So we go into specific usability problems in the user interface along with recommended changes. So we just start to say, okay, here's a glitch. This is a problem. Okay, here's the next glitch. This is a problem. And say, okay, that's our expert review. Thanks. No, we want to give you recommendations for fixing it. We want to make sure that your product is profitable, that you get something out of it. So we want to give you as much information as we can. We also give you task support and communications analysis of how well the design supports users' goals, and design directions and a recommended strategy for achieving advances in the user experience. So we even give you more than just saying, okay, here's a problem, here's how to fix it. We also give you suggestions on improving the whole product. Now let's talk about doing usability research and testing in-house as opposed to bringing in experts. Obviously, it's a no-brainer. If you do it in-house, you will save a lot of money. If you bring in experts, you're paying for that expert advice. But here's the catch. How good is your team that's in-house? Do you even have a team that does usability testing in-house? And if you do, what's their expertise? Do they have an education of a master's or higher? How many years have they been conducting usability research? I have so many companies that come to us and they say, well, we have a usability team. And I say, okay, well, those people who are on your usability team, what are their backgrounds? Oh, they have a bachelor's in this, they have a bachelor's in that, they have a bachelor's in this. And I say, okay, how much usability testing do you think that they did with their bachelor's degree? Oh, they said that they did a lot. Well, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. And so usability research in itself, statistical analysis, yeah, we took classes, but it's a bachelor's. It's the basics. It's okay. I get people to do my study. I come up with a hypothesis. I have a problem. I bring in the people to do the study. I do the study and I see if my hypothesis worked or not. That's what they do with a bachelor's. So some people, business people, just don't get that because they don't have a degree where they had to do research methods or statistical analysis. It didn't encompass that. So they're relying on their usability team at their company. So take a look at their education. Ask for examples of the usability studies that they've done in the past. Look at how many years they've been conducting usability research. What type of research have they been doing? And they say, oh, I have a bachelor's and I've done all this testing. Say, okay, well, tell me how you did that testing. What testing did you do? If they just took a basic research methods class, that's an introduction to research. So that it only goes so far. Budget is a big concern too. Some companies don't have a huge budget. And so here at Situated Research, we do have our pricing scheme on our website. However, we will work with any budget. Now, to bring in experts, you get your money's worth and then some. So, like with the expert review, just as an example, here at Situated Research, we give you that deliverable, we give you that documentation of problems that we found and recommendations. But beyond that, we also give you more recommendations on how to improve the overall user experience for the whole product. So that's an added bonus. So you always get your money's worth. It may cost more upfront, but if you think of the return with the end product, it's a no-brainer. Think of the backgrounds and years that the expert has been conducting research or the company has. Look at their past client list. Isn't it an exceptional list? And does the company want to be there with you from the beginning of the process of developing the product all the way to the end? That shows that the company really, really wants to make sure that your product becomes profitable, that it does create that ultimate user experience. And so here at Situated Research, of course, we always want to be in right at the beginning. However, we have so many companies that wait to the very end and then have us come in to do our testing. And of course, we find issues. And we give them solutions. And they're like, oh, well, the product's already been sold. It's being sold in stores right now. Maybe we can work on a follow-up to this product. It's usually with software companies that we have this problem with. So you see iterations and iterations of software. And that's the reason why, because they didn't fix the whole user experience the first time around. They didn't have anyone involved from beginning to end. And so now they have to come up with a new revision of that piece of software. So it's number 2 now. Some software companies, we've seen them go all the way up to 5 pieces of software. And it's the same software. They just keep improving it. But it's like, why couldn't you just do this the first time around? Now you have all those customers who lost interest and lost confidence and trust in your product and your name, and they're not going to buy these other versions. So it's something to think about. But only you can make that decision. So if you're unsure, you just have no idea, I don't know what to do, contact us for a free consultation and we'll help you to determine what would be the best for your company. So next topic is we're going to talk about how many users to test. Really, the number of users depends on the study. So again, go to our website to this link and you'll see all the studies that we do. And you'll see we have a great chart, tells you the name of the study, gives you an explanation of the study. You can click learn more and learn a whole bunch more on the topic. Tells you how long it's going to take for us to do the study, who's going to do it, how many users, and then the starting price. Again, the starting prices, if you have a budget, we can work around. So just contact us. But just as an example, if you're e-commerce, you want the more users, the better, because you want a good sample of different types of shoppers. So that would make sense. If we're doing a website, we want a smaller sample because we're going to focus more on task-oriented questions. If it's video games, we also want a smaller sample because that rich data that we're going to get from that videotaping of that whole time that you gameplayed is going to be in-depth, rich data for us to give back to the client to improve that video game. So the smaller sample, the better. Software, a medium sample is good, just depending on the piece of software, what its purpose is, because we do task-oriented questions with that as well. But it just really depends on how in-depth that piece of software is and what it's doing and the clientele that would be using it. So now let's talk about competitive benchmarking. And again, just kind of going back to the number of users, if you do decide that you want to do in-house testing and you have a usability team, but you want to make sure that it's done correctly, you can also contact us and we can come up with a plan, a study plan for your team to follow. So it just depends on the product that you're testing, what the pricing would be. You need to contact us for a quote. But we can come up with a plan and just give that to them, and they can perform the study for you. So that can save you some money as well. So let's talk about competitive benchmarking. We have so many clients that come to us and say, okay, I want to know how our software compares to our competitor software. The software does the same thing, it's supposed to serve the same purpose, but they're totally different from totally different companies. We want to do benchmarking. So benchmarking creates standardized test materials for a specific type of design. So 4 key characteristics are considered when establishing a benchmark. Time to do the core task, time to fix the errors, time to learn applications, and the functionality of the system. So once there is a benchmark in place, other designs can be compared to it to determine the usability of the system. But again, we have a lot of clients who just want to compare their product to their competitions, which is fine. Many of the common objectives of usability studies, such as trying to understand user behavior or exploring alternative designs, must be put aside when you're doing competitive benchmarking. Unlike many other usability methods or types of lab studies, benchmark studies more closely resemble true experimental psychology lab studies. And they have greater attention to detail on methodology, study protocol, and data analysis. So they're more detailed, there's more to them, a lot more work. So really, a competitive benchmarking test is a performance-based statistical analysis of your product with up to 3 of your competitors' products. So the test is quantitative in nature, meaning that numeric indicators are produced to indicate user performance of sentiment and gauge what works and doesn't work in your design. For example, timing a common task across several products could indicate which is the simplest to use when coupled with other statistical data. But the goal is to highlight design problems and successes so you can serve your users better. These tests, competitive benchmarking tests, rely on statistical analysis, and findings are based on quantities, so you can see how your product compares with your competitors' products. A lot of companies come to us to do that type of testing because they want to do press releases. They want to start marketing their new product, their new piece of software. It's usually with software companies. So they come to us to do competitive benchmarking. It's usually a 10-stage process. So we identify potential partners, we identify data sources, we then collect that data and select our partners. We determine the gap, establish process differences, target future performance, communication's key. We adjust our goals, we implement, and we review and recalibrate all the time. It's an ongoing process. So now let's talk about improving efficiency versus improving quality of interaction. So this whole webinar, we've been talking about usability. At the beginning, we spoke about what usability was. However, here at Situated Research, we believe that usability encompasses three different things. The first is an effective website or an effective product. An effective product allows customers to achieve their goals. If it's a website, it has them get a higher conversion rate. It meets your business objectives. And it also delivers a positive brand image. Doesn't matter. Website, software, product, video game, doesn't matter. Second, usability is an efficient website, product, software, video game. An efficient product provides answers quickly. It follows a logical sequence. It does not waste resources. There aren't items within the user interface that the user really doesn't need. And it requires less content management time, less improvement time, less management time, less revisions, less versions of the piece of software. Lastly, usability, what you want is to create that ultimate user experience. And in order to do that, you have to have a satisfied user. And in order to have a satisfied user, when they're using your product, it has to achieve their goal. Why did they purchase your product? You have to think about that. And you have to think about, okay, now that they've purchased our product, is it going to help them in their lives? Are they going to enjoy their experience? Because if they do, they're going to tell others and they're going to come back again and again and again. So really the product cycle is you have a project team, you have a company, which is you folks, and you have developers, and you might have usability team as well as your company. And so you come up with a prototype. And you bring in specialists who consult and do the user testing. And then you have those users who will ultimately buy your product. And they want to make sure that product is user-friendly. They want to make sure that it's functional. They want to make sure that it creates that ultimate user experience so they can come back again and again and again. Because that's going to bring you money. And so you want to make sure that you take this process throughout the development process, the development cycle of your product. Now, the ideal workflow is that you come up with a prototype. You contact a usability company right away. You get that testing done all the way through the development process. Revisions are made along the way, and then you produce and come out with this awesome product that everybody wants. It's horrible when companies come to us, they don't encompass usability testing. They have a product, they put it out to market, they do a lot of marketing, a lot of social media advertising, they get the word out like crazy, and the product bombs. And then they come to a usability company and say, well, for the next version, we want you to be a part of it. Well, it's sort of too late. I mean, we can do that for the next version, not a problem. I have no problem doing that. But from the company standpoint, it really is the wrong time to bring in usability research and testing because you've already lost that clientele. The first version that you came out with that bombed, you lost all of those people. Or at least you lost the faith with them. So when you come out with a new version, are they inclined, unless you have the whole industry in your hand and you have no competitors, which is not the case, then you should care. You should want to have usability testing done throughout the whole process. So we have had clients who have come to us, like I said, especially with software companies. They come to us with a piece of software, it bombed. They say, okay, well, now the second version we need your help with. What can we do to improve it? So we have this happen all the time. So that's why when I do the free webinars, I can't stress enough, bring us in at the prototyping, at the brainstorming phase, so that we can help you all the way. We can do paper prototyping with users. You may not have a physical product, But you could, we can take paper and we can draw it out and we can give them different tasks and we can still test the prototype. It's very easy to do. So it's very important as well. So the bottom line is that users should not have to think too hard when they're using your product. They should not have to refer to help screens and they shouldn't be made to feel stupid. Simply by observing your customers, you can avoid all of this. Now, designers and developers often forget that they are not typical users. Developers have a far more extensive knowledge of the product they are developing than the average user is ever going to have. And developers also forget that they are experts in their field and typically use jargon and assumptions that are alien to their customers. After working on a product for some time, it is very easy to forget that others are not familiar with what you do, that they don't understand your terminology and they don't understand the logic. There may be aspects of your project that seem obvious to you that might in fact be utterly confusing to your users. Therefore, it is so important to take a step back from time to time and make sure you don't leave your users behind. Usability testing is an essential aspect of any user-centered approach that puts the user rather than the product at the center of the development process. Adopting such an approach advocates that the user should be foremost in any design decision. So I put this quote up here. This is according to the International Standards Organization, or ISO. And they say very simply, usability is the extent to which a product can be used by specified users to achieve specified goals with effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction in a specified context of use. And that's what it boils down to. The slides I showed you on usability, the effectiveness, the efficiency, and then the satisfaction of your users are so important. In the end, this whole webinar was about what tests should you be using. You're obviously thinking about doing usability testing. So first of all, you have to think, what are your business objectives? If you think that your product could be selling better than it is now, then you need to determine how and why. And the only way to do that is to do usability research. This will help you to figure it out. So we are going to go to Q&A now. And I'm going to actually put up the next screen for our contact information so that you folks have that. So if you do have any questions that come up over the weekend or next week or whenever, really, you can contact us very easily. Remember, we're Situated Research. We like to keep it simple. So contact us anytime. We'll help you out. If you want some consultation, a free consultation, contact us as well. I just like to put up this photo of Darth Vader saying, testing, I find your lack of tests disturbing. Testing is so important, and hopefully I was able to convey that to you today. So while we're doing Q&A, if we do have any questions, we'll go through those in just a moment. Our contact information, again, we're Situated Research. We're located just outside of Chicago in Naperville. And our phone number is there as well as our email. And then the link to our website where you can actually see the different tests that we do, what's involved with each test, the starting costs. And remember, we can work with any budget. So I want to thank you all for attending today. And with that, we will end today's webinar.